Once upon a time, in a small, peaceful village called Otokpo, nestled deep within the lush hills of Benue State, there ruled a king named Inalegu. His name was feared throughout the land, for his heart was as cold as the harmattan winds that swept across the savannah. He was not always wicked. There was a time when he was loved by his people, known for his wisdom and strength. But something changed in him after the mysterious death of his father, the former king. The old king had been beloved by everyone, known for his fairness and kindness. Inalegu, however, had always harbored a dark ambition for power. When his father passed, the people expected him to rule with the same grace and generosity. But what they got was something far more sinister. From the moment Inalegu ascended the throne, everything in Otokpo changed. The once vibrant village, filled with laughter and joy, began to darken under the weight of the king's oppressive rule. He taxed the villagers heavily, taking most of their harvests, leaving them with little to survive on. He would send his soldiers to raid their homes if they dared to protest, and those who resisted were thrown into the dungeon, never to be seen again. Fear gripped the people of Otokpo, and their once thriving market now stood silent and lifeless. Rumors spread like wildfire. Inalegu had made a pact with the ancient spirits of the river, a powerful entity that granted him immense power but demanded sacrifices in return. The king was said to perform dark rituals in the dead of night by the banks of the river, where he would offer gold, precious stones, and sometimes, even the lives of his own people. Despite the fear, there were those who still dared to dream of a time when Otokpo would be free from the king's tyranny. Among them was a young warrior named Ikena, a man who had grown up watching the village he loved wither away under Ohaim's rule. Ikena's father had been one of the first to be imprisoned by the king, accused of speaking out against the royal taxes. Since that day, Ikena swore vengeance and justice for the people of Otokpo. One fateful evening, Ikena met with a group of brave villagers, farmers, traders, and hunters who were tired of living in fear. They plotted to overthrow King Ohaim. They believed that if they could stop him from performing his dark rituals by the river, they could break his hold on the village. That night, as Ohaim stood by the river, chanting to the spirits in his deep, gravelly voice, the villagers set their plan in motion. Ikena, leading the charge, snuck through the dense bush and reached the edge of the river where the king stood. The moonlight reflected off the water, casting an eerie glow on Ohaim's face, twisted in concentration as he offered his final prayers. Suddenly, Ikena leaped from the shadows, his sword raised high. "Ohaim," he shouted, his voice echoing across the water. "Your reign of terror ends tonight." Ohaim's eyes flashed with fury, and in an instant, the air around them grew heavy, thick with the power of the dark spirits he had summoned. But Ikena was no ordinary warrior. With a cry of strength, he charged forward, swinging his sword toward the king. A fierce battle ensued, the crack of metal against metal ringing out as the two clashed. As the fight raged on, Ikena noticed something strange. Despite the king's powerful magic, Ohaim seemed to grow weaker, his movements slower, as if the spirits were beginning to withdraw their support. The more Ikena struck at him, the more the darkness that surrounded the king seemed to fade. With one final blow, Ikena pierced the king's heart. Ohaim let out a chilling scream as he collapsed to the ground, his lifeless body sinking into the river's depths, never to be seen again. The villagers, who had been watching from a distance, rushed forward, their faces filled with both relief and disbelief. The tyrant king was gone, and the spirit of the river, no longer bound by his dark rituals, seemed to quieten, allowing the moonlight to shine down on the land once more. The next morning, as the sun rose over Otokpo, the village awoke to a new dawn. Ikena was hailed as a hero, and the people began to rebuild what had been destroyed under the king's rule. The crops flourished once again, the markets became lively, and the songs of joy returned to the air. But despite the king's death, Ikena knew that the darkness was not completely gone. He could still feel the lingering presence of the spirits that had once empowered Ohaim. With his sword in hand, he vowed to protect the people of Otokpo from any threat, ensuring that the horrors of the past would never return. And so, peace returned to Otokpo, at least for now. But as with all tales of darkness and light, the shadow of the past always lingers, waiting for a time when it might rise again. But for now, the people of Otokpo celebrated, their voices rising in songs of freedom and hope, knowing that even in the darkest times, there is always a glimmer of light that can chase away the shadows.